Imagine looking up at the night sky and knowing exactly where heaven is, like down to the specific light year.
Yeah, the exact population, the orbital mechanics, all of it.
Right. Welcome to today's deep dive. Usually when we talk about the afterlife, there is this really heavy expectation of ambiguity.
Oh, totally. It's almost always presented like an impressionist painting, you know?
Right, exactly.
All
You
right.
picture some fluffy clouds, maybe some vague golden lighting, a harp playing in the distance, and the theologian just sort of points at the canvas and says, well, it's a state of eternal
Right.
peace.
It's purposefully ethereal. I mean, for thousands of years, most spiritual traditions have treated the afterlife as, fundamentally unquantifiable.
Like, trying to map it out was seen as just completely missing the point.
Exactly.
The blurriness is almost where the comfort comes from, I think. But then you step into the cosmology of the text we're examining today, and suddenly that impressionist painting is it's ripped down.
Yeah, and replaced by a highly technical, mathematically precise architectural blueprint.
It is the absolute definition of a cosmic GPS coordinate system. So today, our mission is to explore this wildly structured map of the afterlife that gives us exact distances, census populations, and the literal physical dimensions of where we go when we leave this earthly plane.
It's honestly unlike anything I've read before.
Same here. And just to ground us, the source text we're drawing from is this meticulously detailed document. It's titled Where is Heaven? Written by Xu Feng in 2007, translated by Treasure, and edited by Kair. Okay, let's unpack this, because I have quite literally never seen a text about the afterlife so grounded in astronomical math.
Right, it demands a complete paradigm shift from the reader. We're looking at this fascinating synthesis of cosmology, theology, and frankly, like quant-style structuralism.
It really is.
The author is basically demanding that we stop treating the spiritual realm as a poetic abstraction. We're being asked to look at it as an objective, measurable reality.
Complete with light years and distinct galaxies. Before we start dropping coordinates and distances, though, I think we first need to understand the baseline.
Because if we're measuring heaven, we need to know what exactly is happening there.
Exactly. How does this text define the everyday experience of this place? Because from what I read, it isn't just about, sitting around singing in a choir for eternity.
No, not at all. The text defines heaven as a place where the non-material structures of life, and actually the author capitalizes the word life here.
Oh, right. All caps. Life.
Yeah, that capitalization is key. It draws a sharp distinction between biological life with a lowercase l and spiritual life with an uppercase L.
So what does that perfected uppercase life actually look like?
Well, the primary characteristic isn't constant worship or meditation. It is purely defined by freedom.
Freedom from what exactly?
Specifically, freedom from the fundamental grinding issues of earthly survival. The text explicitly lists them out. It's freedom from the need for food, clothing, shelter, transportation.
Wow, even transportation.
Yeah, and disease, war, and sudden disaster.
When I was reading that, the first thing that came to my mind was a post-scarcity video game mode.
Oh, like a cheat code.
Yeah. If you've ever played a survival game, you know the drill. You have to constantly monitor your avatar's hunger meter, craft a rudimentary shelter so you don't freeze when the sun goes down.
Healing from random injuries, yeah.
Right, it's a constant loop of maintenance. But then you enter a cheat code to turn all those maintenance stats off. You suddenly have total freedom to explore the map without health depletion or travel time.
I see the parallel, absolutely.
Oh.
But let's dig into the psychological weight of that cheat code.
Okay.
All the friction of biological existence is removed. But it goes deeper than just convenience. The text implies that true living, like the actualization of a soul, can only truly begin once the chores of survival are out of the way.
I hear that, but I gotta push back a little bit.
Sure.
If we don't have to worry about eating, if we don't have to build shelter or invent transportation or, survive the winter, what do we actually do with all that time?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, because so much of the human experience, for better or worse, is built entirely around overcoming those specific struggles. If you remove the struggle, do you risk removing the purpose?
What's fascinating here is that the author anticipates that exact human anxiety. We are so conditioned by scarcity that we mistake the struggle for the purpose.
Oh, wow. Mistaking the struggle for the purpose.
Exactly. This text frames spiritual elevation entirely around liberation from those constraints.
Yeah.
It basically argues that earthly existence is a distraction.
Because you're too busy fixing a leaking roof or nursing an aching back to reach higher consciousness.
Right, that liberation gives you the ultimate luxury, which is the time and energy to simply exist in a state of higher consciousness,
Wow.
exploring the nature of the universe without needing to stop for lunch.
I suppose it just takes a minute for the human brain to wrap around an existence where you aren't just putting out fires all day.
It's a huge adjustment.
So if we accept this frictionless post-scarcity existence as the baseline, we need to figure out where this is actually happening.
It's the location.
Because if there is no physical friction, why does the cosmology require different tiers or locations? Yet, the author breaks heaven down into distinct realms.
Starting with our closest cosmic neighbors, the author builds a literal cosmic neighborhood.
Why different tiers, though?
The reason for the tiers is that perfection is presented as a spectrum, not just a single binary switch. The first step up that ladder is something the text calls the 1,000-year world.
And the math here is where things start getting incredibly specific. The 1,000-year world is described as a celestial body exactly 960 light years away from Earth.
Yep, 960 light years.
It's 10 times the size of our planet, and it has a locked population of approximately 200 million people.
And the reason it's called the 1,000-year world is that the basic lifespans of the beings there are about 1,000 Earth years.
It establishes a really clear structural pattern.
It does. The author is using 960 light years not just as a random large number, but to place it definitively within our own Milky Way galaxy.
Oh, so it's physically distant enough to be untouchable by our current technology, but conceptually close enough to act as a bridge.
Exactly. And as you move further out into this cosmic structure, the mathematics scale up drastically.
Which brings us to the next tier, the 10,000-year world.
Right.
This one is located 3,480 light years from Earth. It's 16 times bigger than Earth. It holds about 100 million celestial beings.
The text actually compares them to land celestials in Taoism, which is a neat crossover.
Yeah, and they live for about 35,000 Earth years. But there is a mechanical detail here that completely stopped me in my tracks.
The suns.
The suns. This world is uniquely positioned so that it is equidistant from exactly 16 suns. 16 suns that surround it perfectly.
That's a crazy image.
How does a planet perfectly balance between 16 suns gravitationally without being ripped apart? Like, what would that even look like?
Well, to understand that, we have to let go of our standard Newtonian orbital mechanics, where one small rock orbits one heavy star.
Okay, so throw out the physics textbook.
Basically, the author is describing a marvel of divine engineering. Gravitationally, to be suspended equidistant between 16 massive stellar bodies means the planet exists in a perfect gravitational null point.
The poles just cancel each other out.
Exactly. It creates absolute stasis.
So no chaotic orbits, no shifting tectonic plates from uneven gravitational pull.
Visually, imagine a sky where you never have true darkness. It would be a shifting kaleidoscope of solar light from all directions.
Oh, providing perfectly even energy across the whole surface.
And a perfectly uniform climate. There are no seasons, no freezing poles, no scorching equators.
Wow.
The author is using these escalating numbers, 16 suns, 16 times the size of Earth, to convey a physical manifestation of spiritual stability.
So the further out you go from our chaotic, wobbling little Earth, the more perfectly balanced the celestial mechanics become.
That's the idea.
It is an astounding visual, just a permanently illuminated, massive sphere locked in perfect tension.
But those first two worlds, the 1,000-year and 10,000-year worlds, they're still just specific planets within our physical universe.
Right, they're just stepping stones. To understand the full scope of this text, we have to zoom way out.
Way.
Because those planets are just a tiny fraction of the overarching macro architecture of this reality, which the text calls the Elysium world.
The Elysium world is basically the container for everything. It's the paradise universe.
And the text makes a vital point here, doesn't it?
It does. It says our entire Earth universe, with all its billions of galaxies, is just one small fraction inside the Elysium world.
The shape of this massive paradise universe is described as a Taiji ellipsoid, and it operates as a law rotary galaxy.
We should probably define those terms because
Yeah.
they're pretty dense.
Yeah, let's do that. A Taiji ellipsoid. Taiji refers to the supreme ultimate, the source of yin and yang, right?
Right.
And an ellipsoid is a three-dimensional oval, like an egg.
Yes. Think of it as a massive, harmonized, dualistic cosmic egg. It represents total balance in a three-dimensional shape.
And when the text calls it a law rotary galaxy, what does that mean?
It means this superstructure doesn't rotate based on standard physical gravity, like a black hole pulling in stars. It rotates based on cosmic law.
So the structural integrity is held together by divine order, not just mass and velocity.
Exactly.
That makes the math they use to describe it even more mind-bending, because the scale is purely fractal. Listen to this breakdown.
It's intense.
The Elysium world contains 3,000 of these rotary river galaxies. Each of those contains 3,000 Milky Way-type galaxies.
Right.
And each of those contains 3,000 solar systems.
Let's do that math just to ground it in reality.
Okay.
3,000 times 3,000 is 9 million.
Okay.
9 million times 3,000 gives us the final count the author provides.
Right. The text states explicitly, the Elysium world is composed of 3,000 macro worlds, 9 million medium worlds, and 27 billion small worlds, exactly like our Earth.
27 billion.
27 billion small worlds.
But here is the critical pivot in the text. Despite all these galaxies, solar systems, and 27 billion Earths, the text states that the Elysium world itself is a non-material existence.
Here's where it gets really interesting. How does a universe with 27 billion physical planets exist non-materially?
The author uses this brilliant, highly accessible analogy for this.
Oh, the paper analogy. I love this. The text says, imagine the world we live on right now is the front side of a sheet of paper.
Yep.
The Elysium world is the reverse side of that exact same sheet of paper.
It is arguably the most elegant analogy in the entire document. It completely bypasses the dense scientific jargon of quantum string theory or, multidimensional folding.
It reorients our entire spatial understanding of heaven. Usually we look up at the sky, we think heaven is up or beyond.
We think we have to travel outward.
But this text says, no, it's just turned around. The place where humans live is literally where the Elysium world exists. It's occupying the exact same space.
If you think about your own daily perspective, the implications are just staggering. It means your morning commute, your office, your kitchen, all of it is just the surface layer.
It's the thin veneer of a massive, mathematically perfect, non-material fractal universe.
The divine isn't millions of light years away. It is resting right against the back of your hand, separated only by the absolute zero thickness of reality's paper.
You are literally walking through heaven every day. You just don't have the right dimensional access to interact with it.
Exactly.
But that raises a major logistical question. If this Elysium world is everywhere, overlapping our entire universe, where exactly within this multi-billion world structure are we supposed to go?
When we finally pass through the paper.
Yeah, when we cross to the back of the paper, where is our destination?
The text provides a very specific zoning map for the Elysium world. It's divided into 10 distinct continents.
Which are also referred to as Pure Lands or Buddha Lands.
Right.
The names are fantastic, by the way. You have the Lotus Continent, the Moon Temple Continent, the Supreme Authentic Wisdom Continent.
But the specific target destination, the place this text says humanity should be aiming for, is called the Celestial Islands continent.
True to the highly quantitative nature of this cosmology, the author gives us the exact real estate breakdown of this specific continent.
Naturally.
And this is the part that genuinely made me pause. The Celestial Islands continent has exactly 80 billion islands.
80 billion.
According to the text, 30 billion of those islands have already been homesteaded by super celestial beings, which the text identifies as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
Okay.
That leaves exactly 50 billion islands currently uninhabited. 50 billion.
It's a massive number.
But wait, I have to stop and ask the obvious question here. If we are on the non-material back of the paper, why are we talking about physical concepts like islands and continents?
It sounds a bit like earthly real estate, doesn't it?
Yeah. Isn't that just projecting human real estate desires onto a divine realm? If I don't have a physical body, why do I need an island?
That is a crucial distinction to make. In a non-material universe, an island shouldn't be thought of as like a chunk of dirt surrounded by water.
Okay, what is it then?
It's better understood as a sovereign node of consciousness. It is a localized frequency. In many Eastern philosophies, the fear of achieving enlightenment is the drop in the ocean concept.
The fear that your individual consciousness will dissolve completely into the universe.
Right. By defining these spaces as islands, the text assures the reader that you maintain a distinct sovereign space. You have a conceptual anchor.
Okay, that makes so much more sense. It isn't a physical plot of land. It's a dedicated frequency where your capitalized life can exist without dissolving.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the math of it reveals something profoundly inviting.
How so?
Well, a lot of traditional views of the afterlife are fundamentally exclusive. They act like gated communities with incredibly strict entry requirements and limited space.
Right, very VIP.
But this text presents an expansive, optimistic universe. There are 50 billion conceptual islands purposefully left open for new arrivals. The universe is literally holding space for you.
It is an incredibly comforting thought, just billions of vacant nodes waiting for people to move in and set up their non-material homestead.
It really is.
But this brings us to the ultimate hurdle of the text. We have an exact map. We have a clear destination. We know there are 50 billion empty islands waiting for us right now, occupying the exact same space as our physical bodies.
Right.
So how do we actually get there?
That is the crux of the text's entire philosophy. And the author takes a very hard, definitive stance on the mechanism of crossing over.
Yes, the author completely rejects a phrase you hear constantly in modern spiritual circles. You know, when people say heaven and hell are just in your heart, or heaven is just a state of mind.
Right. The text calls this absolute idealism, and it argues that this way of thinking is actually a trap.
Why a trap?
It's a trap because treating heaven merely as a psychological state diminishes its objective reality. The text argues fiercely that heaven exists independently of your belief in it.
So even if humanity completely forgets it, the Elysium world is still there.
Exactly. Absolute idealism makes you think you can just meditate your way into peace without fundamentally shifting your existential anchor.
The analogy the author uses for this is so wonderfully grounded. They say it's like having a relative who lives far away in another city.
That's a great metaphor.
Yeah, if you stop thinking about that relative or if you completely forget them, they don't suddenly cease to exist. They're still living their life, eating dinner, going to work.
Right. The Elysium world is exactly the same. It is an objective reality. Believing that the universe only exists because we perceive it is framed here as sheer human arrogance.
By firmly establishing heaven as an objective, measurable place, the text forces the reader to treat the journey there as a practical endeavor, not just an emotional mood swing.
You can't just feel your way there. You have to fundamentally relocate your consciousness.
So what does this all mean? If heaven isn't just a state of mind, but a literal, mathematically perfect place existing on the back of the paper right exactly where we are sitting, what is actually stopping us from flipping the page?
Right. If it's right here, why can't we access it?
Exactly.
The author gives us one final piercing insight to answer that. The text says, and I quote, "Actually, it is easy to go to heaven, but it is extremely difficult to break our obsession."
Extremely difficult to break our obsession. That line carries so much weight.
It does, because it redefines the nature of the barrier. The barrier isn't physical distance. We've established it 0 inches away.
Right.
The barrier is entirely psychological. It's our absolute white-knuckled tether to the material world. The text notes that once these cosmic secrets are pierced, the mechanics become clear and simple.
The physics of crossing over are incredibly easy. The psychology of letting go of the front of the paper is the excruciating part.
Because to let go of the front of the paper means letting go of the survival mechanics we discussed at the very beginning. We are obsessed with our physical maintenance.
Precisely. This raises an important question. What are the material constraints that you are currently obsessed with?
We identify so heavily with our earthly anxieties, our jobs, our status, our physical comfort, that we essentially glue ourselves to the front of the paper.
We refuse to let go of the very friction that makes us miserable because it's all we know.
It's all we know.
It is a profound realization. What an incredible journey this text takes us on. We started by completely redefining the afterlife, stripping away the daily chores and the survival mechanics to find a baseline of pure, frictionless freedom.
From there, we scaled up the cosmic neighborhood.
Right. We visualized a planet suspended in perfect gravitational equilibrium between 16 suns. We zoomed out to comprehend the massive fractal math of a universe with 27 billion Earths, structured as a non-material Taiji ellipsoid.
And all of it layered invisibly over the physical world we're navigating right now, culminating in 50 billion open sovereign spaces waiting to be claimed.
And whether you view this text as a literal mathematical roadmap to a very real afterlife, or simply as a fascinating, intricate philosophical thought experiment, it absolutely challenges us to reevaluate our daily existence.
It really makes you acutely aware of just how much mental space our earthly anxieties take up.
It forces you to look at those anxieties, paying for shelter, securing food, worrying about the future, not as the totality of existence, but simply as the temporary conditions of the front side of the paper.
Which brings us right back to that final brilliant metaphor.
Yes, the text claims the reverse side of the paper, a perfect, mathematically sound, post-scarcity reality. is right here. Isn't millions of miles away in the clouds. It's pressed right up against you.
The only thing blocking your way through is your own obsession with the material world.
So we want to leave you with this final thought to mull over today. If you had to look at your life right now, in this exact moment, if you had to identify the one earthly obsession, the one material anxiety that is currently acting as your anchor, keeping you firmly glued to the front side of the paper, what would it be?